What's up, builders? So today we're going to talk about ElevenLabs conversational agents. And for those of you that are unaware, ElevenLabs has been around a while now. They're one of the premier kind of voice LLM, AI, clone your own voice, really good latency, really good quality. A lot of platforms out there are using ElevenLabs under the hood in order to power their platforms. Well, now with this conversational AI agents, we can use ElevenLabs to just create them ourselves and kind of cut out the middlemen. So today I want to talk about this floating orb that we might start seeing populate all over the place, which is the ElevenLabs voice widget, which allows us to build both chatbots and voice bots through this particular widget. So I'm going to run you through this demo here, something I have put together.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could show me the API in order to create a new agent programmatically through the ElevenLabs docs.
Sure thing, I can definitely help with that. To clarify, are you interested in the API reference for creating an agent using Python, JavaScript, or are you looking for something else? Are you still there?
Let's use the JavaScript SDK.
Okay, I'll get you the information for creating an agent using the JavaScript SDK. Does that all make sense? Let me know if you'd like more details on any of those steps or want to explore other options.
I'll look through it in a little bit. Are there any YouTube videos on this particular topic?
Yes, here's a comprehensive video tutorial on this topic. It should help you get a better understanding of how to create agents.
Awesome. This is great. Can you do me a favor? Can you just clear all the cards on the screen for me?
Sure thing. I've cleared all the cards from the screen. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's it. Thanks. Okay, so a few things going on there. As you can tell, I could sit here. I've got this voice widget embedded onto the sidebar on the right here. And of course, I could clean this up if I ever put this into production. But for this demo, you get the gist of it. I sat here and had a voice conversation. And while we were on this conversation, my screen started to change and we started to populate cards on the screen. So basically this agent has been trained on the ElevenLabs documentation, and I am rendering things onto the front end. Here's a card. You saw a clickable link that I could open to the JavaScript SDK, right? So it had an awareness of what the URLs were as well, and also an embedded YouTube player. So I had a particular YouTube video sitting there, as well as the ability to clear these cards. So let's get into the platform and kind of get an idea and understanding about how I was able to do this and where this might lead us as far as agents out in the wild, so to say, for lack of a better term, out in production, and what this could possibly mean for us. So when you log into ElevenLabs, at the top left here, there are two things. There's the creative platform and the agents platform. The creative platform is if you want to create some music, you want to mess around and clone voices and do anything in that is in the creative platform. So this agents tab opens up to, okay, here are all my agents, here are the knowledge bases, here are the tools, voices, and you start to tinker around in here in order to modify this particular agent. So let's go to the agent tab. And the name of this agent is YouTube demo. You get an agent ID, which is used in various API calls if you want to do things. So language, very straightforward. You can add some additional languages here if you know you're going to have some multilingual users. You can give the agent a heads up. It's, hey, you should also expect Spanish and French coming in from this agent as well, even though it's primarily in English. Now, the open here is a first message block. Now, this is a hard-coded static message that you can make a little bit dynamic with adding a variable in, which you have to declare when the call initiates. But that way, you're not, if you leave this blank, when you start the call, it's just going to sit and start listening passively. But I wanted to have this kind of back and forth. Hello, how are you doing? Let me know that it's ready. Okay, system prompt. This is a very straightforward block that we see in a lot of other agent builders. These are the instructions on how the agent operates. So I have just given the agent a heads up, like you are an assistant that understands the ElevenLabs platform. Now here is a little bit of insight into the tool calling and how I was able to render cards coming in on the screen and have my screen change. And that is because I've created these tools, which we'll get a little bit more into later, but you can see in the instructions, I'm letting the agent know what are the available tool calls at my disposal. And this particular ones are show info card, clear cards, update status. I don't know if any of you noticed they're in the status bar up top. Let's see, like right here, loading video tutorial. So this was changing as I was interacting with the agent. So it's kind of a nice touch. Got too many tabs open here. Highlight topic. So I didn't show you a highlighted card, but there's like an accent card coming through with a different thing. So you could style each of the individual cards based on what you wanted to see. Show YouTube video, and then I just passed a static URL to this just for the demo, but you can imagine a bunch of different things happening here. When to create cards, some strategy around it. So, and then some just additional good prompting standards is the right word. Dynamic variables. So once again, on chat load, you can pass things into the widget based on maybe I'm going to hit a webhook. I'm going to fetch some customer data, order data, stuff from the browser, depending on what is useful, passing it into the agent so it becomes a dynamic experience. The LLM, so this is Gemini 2.0 Flash, which makes it nice and snappy, but I can scroll through here. I can see all of the different ones. We have all the OpenAI, GPT-5 is in here, Anthropic Claude, whatever your particular use case is and what you need it for, you have the ability to change the LLM at your disposal. Temperature, once again, creativity or randomness, which is always on here. For most of my production agents, I have more of a deterministic because I'm answering like FAQ questions. This is, you know, this is more of like a support type of aspect for this demo. You can limit your token usage in here. It's set to -1, which makes it a limit will be applied if it's greater than 0. So -1 means there's no limit on the token usage this particular agent can run. You can imagine certain scenarios where you don't want this to run to the moon and have this nice ElevenLabs bill staring you at the face. Knowledge base. So you can come in here and add documents in here, URLs, files, your own text files. These are some old documents, just me messing around in here trying to test to see how this works. These are all scraped from the ElevenLabs docs, which is how it knew, okay, here's the JavaScript SDK page and all this stuff. It's because it has all of this stuff in the knowledge base. So if I scroll all the way down here, here's where I get into the tools. Now, ElevenLabs has some prescriptive tools that they have kind of already built, like a transfer to an agent. You want to transfer this to another AI agent, transfer this to a number. You can do a handoff, you know, through like Twilio or something like that. You want to hand off this to a live human, which is super useful in all of these agents, especially the customer support, you know, that needs, the problem needs to get escalated, or, hey, I don't want to talk to this AI agent anymore. Let me talk to a human. So there's a lot of stuff in here pre-built, which is great. Now, custom tools. This is all stuff that I made for this particular demo. And here is something that I really like seeing, okay? So there is an add a webhook tool, which if you're using something in combination like N8N with this, you can just webhook out to another workflow, do a bunch of things, and respond back to the agent, or, which is what we used for this particular one, which is a client tool, which whenever you get to that particular turn and tool call, the ElevenLabs voice widget will push information into the browser client side, which then we can build our site around to listen for this particular tool call. It's like, oh, update status just got pushed. I know I need to handle this and then do some sort of action, which is how all of the stuff on the site started changing as I interacted with this agent, is because the client side tools are pushing stuff into the browser, and then there is code sitting in the particular website to be able to listen for it, handle it, and then take a particular action. So I like how ElevenLabs is making clear distinctions here. You have your tools available to you that you can hit with webhooks, or you can hit this client-side stuff if you want to start interacting with the browser or whatever reason you need to do. Now, for each of these tools, you can add variables, you can add parameters, you can add variable assignments, you can, fine-tune this thing, pass headers, and do like all of your normal things with the tool calls that you see in all of these other agent platforms. We're not going to get to this in this video, but I've already started linking MCP endpoints to this, especially with N8N's new MCP node. So I will have a video on this in and of itself, hopefully soon, but I like what I am already seeing here with this. Super helpful. So that is the general agent tab. So this particular builder, I call it the one box workflow, right? Like you got to shove everything into the system prompt and all your tool calls attached to it. And then you hope that it all just kind of works, right? You don't necessarily have the super fine-tuned granularity on what's happening in the conversation with some of the other platforms like I'm using with VoiceFlow right now, where like I can know exactly where the conversation is for this particular piece. And when I need to kick out of an agent and do more programmatic, like prescriptive stuff, or if I don't want to use an LLM at all, because like that introduces, a certain percentage of randomness, like I can handle that in the platform. Now, this is an alpha for ElevenLabs, but they are starting to do workflows themselves, which are more targeted groupings of interactions with this agent to potentially help you fine tune and get a little bit more granular in these agents. So it's still like it's an alpha. It's very basic. I can kind of get the gist of it, but hopefully they continue to keep adding on to the roadmap of this, because more control is better. It's always better for us as the builder and the clients that we build this for, because that's how we really customize and fine tune this thing to really make them sharp and useful when they're interacting with forward-facing customers. Voice. So ElevenLabs, best in class right now for all of their voices, all of the stuff. So you get that natively in the platform here. You can see I have this drop down. I have all these voices.
Gratitude is riches. Complaint is poverty.
I can just listen to the voices right here. Very snappy. It's great. So love all that. If you really want to dial in some of the control for this, you have all of these stability, speed, similarity, all of these levers that you can mess around with, but these are the preset ones that come when you create a new agent, which work great for the most part. Analysis. Let's say that after the call, you want to run some evaluation. You want to gain some additional information. Like if I know in the home service franchise, it's like, was this call bookable? Was the job actually booked? Like you want to extract information without a human listening to every single one of these calls. And you can do that here through evaluations and add the particular criteria and add a prompt on top of it. So LLM, when the call ends, is going to listen to grab the transcript automatically and then take some sort of action that you want here to have you start gathering data, which then you can push to your clients and gain a lot of useful information. Data collection, you can define custom data specs to say, hey, like I want to extract this from every one of these transcripts. Like I need everybody's like first name or phone number or email address. Can you just put this in like a nice JSON like structure for me, because I'm going to use it in other platforms and other places. Definitely like this. Something else that's an alpha is tests. So I mentioned again about humans actually sitting in, I talk to agents every day. I'm probably going to go crazy because of it. But if you want to do a bunch of tests at scale, you can go in and add test conditions and criteria and see how the agent that you've built stacks up against some set conditions. That way you can get an idea of what is the behavior of this thing, instead of these like 1 or 2 off instances of, hey, will you mind like calling into this and give me an idea what it kind of sounds like and how it responds? You can get in here and kind of add some tests and do some things yourself. Take a sip of water here. Woo, talking a lot. Security, it speaks for itself. You need to do some additional, same thing with advanced. Like, feel free to jump in here and kind of click around. I do want to get to widget. Now, this is the embed code that will go on your website. So ElevenLabs has the particular code here. You can see this agent ID, which I will delete after this demo. There's a lot of stuff that is useful inside of this. Now, one of the things I mentioned, the ability to have a chatbot in here. You can actually turn the voice widget aspect off and just make it a standard chatbot based on your particular agent instructions. And also, in addition, you can toggle on a real-time transcript of this call, which if I toggle this, hit save, let's see if this comes into the test window here.
Hello, how can I help you today?
There we go. You can see that it's transcribing the voice that's coming through. So you get this like combination of voice compared with a visual cue of what's going on.
Yes, I can see that the transcription is working.
There we go. You can see, like, here we go. So that's what I said. That's coming through, and then it's the next turn. And what I really, really like about this is, let's say we get to a point where, okay, I need to enter like an email address or an address or a name. And names are real tricky with some of these agents because of spelling, and you have to like repeat this and go back and forth. Because I have the ability to type and text and chat in combination with a voice, I can have this nice conversation with the voice widget, but also say like, hey, my name is Connor, right? And I can let the agent know that's the spelling of my name, because it's easier for me to just type it instead of just, have this back and forth. All right, let me spell this. Is it C-O-N-N-O-R or C-O-N-N-E-R? Like I have this kind of dynamic back and forth where I can speak to the agent and text to it and chat with it and type to it at the same time.
That's a great observation.
Thank you. All right, turn this off. So I really, really like this. There's different appearance customizations where you can make it really small on the screen, compact, like this is more of like a full extended. And the placement here, instead, if you don't want it like sitting at the bottom right, you've got some different options here. Bottom left, top right. So you can move this around. Now in my demo, like I put this in a custom container and embedded it because I didn't want the placement to be dictated by ElevenLabs for this particular one. I wanted to showcase that I want to move this and extend this. And especially if you're going to do like a chat, like I want to make it a larger window. So that's more me like tinkering, making sure I have the ability to manipulate things on the front end. You also have this avatar, which is this glowing orb, which has a few different colors in it. You can change the colors. And instead of the orb, if you don't want to, you can link to an image URL or just upload a particular image you want if you want something branded here. So you certainly don't have to use this particular orb. Here's some additional CSS stylings, your button radius. So everything is right here. Fine tune the control the way that you want it. Some additional text context for different things like mute the microphone. What do you, new call? You can see new calls typed in here. Here's new call. So you can come in here and stylize and change a lot of different things. Terms and condition. If you have a client that has a specific terms and condition, like, hey, by the way, this is a recorded conversation, please accept these terms. Or by the way, these are LLM responses. Like, please verify, look in documentation, double check answer, whatever it is, you can toggle this on and then type in a custom terms of service, basic terms and condition, which when the user initiates a call, they have to accept the terms and conditions in order to continue. Super useful. So in addition, you've got a lot of different things on the sidebar here. You got more stuff with the voices. You got your tool calls. You can start integrating things here. There's a lot of different stuff here. Me playing around with some of these tools, just an idea to see what, I can get away with. Integrations. This is where you add your MCP server directly into, and then your phone numbers. If you want to do this, let me hand off to an actual person. Here's where you would import your numbers from Twilio and all this stuff like that. So a lot of cool things. Jump in here, get in here. Let's talk about like the web in general. And I'll even tack on mobile, right? We have more and more people that are interacting with websites on their cell phone, right? On mobile. It's a small amount of real estate on this particular screen. And websites in general, they've got a ton of stuff. You got all these different pages, you got all these menus, all these sidebars. I got to scroll in order to find the information that we want. These agents are going to make it a much better user experience in order for people to come in and directly find the information that they want. Could you imagine like almost like an e-commerce store, right? It's like, hey, I want to shop for hiking boots today. And then the screen just populates with cards of products. Hey, can you add this to the cart? How much does this cost? Instead of the traditional, let me try to search through this, let me click through all of this information. I think that these agents are going to continue to transform the way that we interact and operate with websites, with applications, with all sorts of things across the web. And this is just the beginning. And I love what I am seeing from ElevenLabs, and I hope that they continue to build out additional functionality inside of here, because I know, like, I already have the ability to do some pretty cool things, which I hope that you are in agreement with me on, just based off of a demo like this. And this is just an HTML page. This is not like some sort of deployed full application that has a ton of things under the hood. This is just me listening to these client tools. Now, is there going to be, like, in order for this adoption curve to hit, like, we're going to have to redesign and rebuild some of these websites with these embedded agents in mind. But one of the cool things is, like, this might reduce the amount of elements that need to be built, because everything almost becomes an artifact window. Let me bring the relevant thing right to the person on the screen so they can start interacting with it in a certain way. So, one thing that I did not talk about is price. And I need to bring this up because the pricing for ElevenLabs and all of this stuff, they have so many products right now and so many different things. It is really tricky and difficult to parse through, what am I going to be charged for something like this to be like live on a website? And I can tell you just from running my tests, I certainly wish it was cheaper, is how I would phrase it. And if I knew that I had a ton of web traffic coming in here, there would have to be a very clear ROI and UX bump for my users in order to deploy something like this. So I hope that in time, this moves from being cool to being really useful to being, this is the demanded user experience across the board for everybody. But we will have to wait and see. And hopefully, as more of these go out, like, I get a better idea of, all right, these are the actual costs. This is what the usage looks like. These are the ways that we can optimize our flows to reduce these costs, because these agents are not free. And certainly a voice agent that is talking back and forth, you're going to incur usage costs. So this is a great use case of AI and agents and interacting with websites. And more to come as I continue to mess around inside of this platform and try to push it to the limit to see if we can do some cool things and, more importantly, useful things for other businesses. Love to know what you guys think. Have any of you started building inside of here? We're going to see this floaty orb from ElevenLabs all over the place. Let me know your thoughts. Anyways, happy building out there. Talk to you soon.